All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about the power rankings that were released this week, and I'll give you my thoughts on that, what I agree with, what I disagree with. And again, I always try to go as fast as I can, but this segment always flies by, so I'm always just speeding up speeding up at the end because obviously we don't have a lot of time between each segment because each segment goes so fast. But anyway, so we go to 32, Panthers. I mean, you put up 30 points against the Packers defense, and then, you get shut out against C.J. Beathard and the Jags. So it's just, and then you got the owner throwing, drinks on the fans. We'll have to talk about that during the week. But yeah, that was not a good look for Dave Tepper. But yeah, Panthers at 32, Commanders at 31. I mean, it's just... Listen, I thought they had something with Sam Howell, but it really doesn't look like that right now. He has not been good for a while. And, the Commanders, I mean, I don't know what their plan is for the offseason, but there's going to be a lot of changes. We just know that. 30, you got the Patriots. I mean, listen, Bailey Zappi threw 3 picks, but they only lost by 6 to the Bills. They had their chances. But anyways, they're at 30. 29 is the Cardinals, only going up 1 spot after beating the Eagles in Philly. And we'll talk about them in the next segment. But I mean, good for them for getting that win. They really screwed up the Eagles with their playoff positioning. But yeah, I mean that was a good performance by Kyler Murray, James Conner too. I mean, yeah, but I feel like they could have went up a little bit higher. Giants are at 28, right in the same spot as last week. Back-to-back competitive losses. But it's that's just the Giants. Like I said, they're the team of almosts and ifs. So they're at 28. So then we move on to 27. The Chargers. I mean, listen, you're competitive against the Bills, then against Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos. They just couldn't generate any kind of offense. It's been a rough one for the Chargers, and hopefully they can rebound next year. Anyways, we go to 26. The Titans. Blowout loss to the Texans with C.J. Stroud being back. Will Levis got hurt in this game. So they brought in Tannehill, and he just couldn't get anything going. So we'll see if they play spoiler versus Jacksonville on Sunday at home. Then the Jets at 25. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to their defense. I mean, look, their defense, I think, gave up on Thursday against the Browns. I was impressed that they were able to, go and go down the field on the first drive. After the Browns went down the field on their first drive and scored a touchdown. But then, after that, Trevor Siemian throws the pick six. It's another team that it's been a rough year. But, yeah, they're at 25. Falcons at 24. Blowout loss to the Bears. But they still got a chance to win the division, if they can win and the Bucs lose. So, Raiders at 23. They had that big win against Kansas City on Christmas, but they couldn't repeat that against the Colts. Of course, they had the backdoor cover against me, which stunk. But, those kinds of losses happen to me when it comes to picking in the spread. So then you got the Broncos at 22. They pretty much stayed in the same spot, 8-8. They picked up the win against the Chargers. Jarrett Stidham, his highlight play was, it was really little Jordan Humphrey's highlight play. Stidham threw a pass to him, and he just, took it to the house. Chargers just couldn't tackle on that play. But yeah, the Broncos, 8-8, and we'll see if they can finish this year with a winning record. Vikings dropped down to 3 spots to 21. Curious decision by putting in Jaron Hall at quarterback to start the game as opposed to just going with either Nick Mullins or Josh Dobbs. Because if they would have started with one of those guys, that would have been a different game. But we'll talk about the Packers when we get to them. But yeah, that was a curious decision. And they're, Kirk Cousins doesn't get hurt, this team is probably a playoff team. So it's unfortunate with what happened with the Vikings. The Bears have been playing great as of late. Justin Fields has been good. The defense, though, has been the bigger story. They got a chance to knock the Packers out of the playoffs if they could beat them on Sunday in Lambeau. And we'll see if they stick with Justin Fields. That'll be something to keep an eye on. Seahawks dropped down a few spots, losing to the Steelers. They're at 19. The Bengals dropped down 4 spots, dropping to 18 after the loss to the Chiefs. They were up by 10, and then they didn't score at all in the second half. That was another cover that hurt my chances. But, so, yeah, they're at 18. The Saints are at 17. They went up 6 spots. That was a big win against the Bucs. Where was that all year? Really? They are one of the most inconsistent teams this year. And, listen, they still got a chance. If they beat the Falcons and the Buccaneers lose, then they're in. And they're hosting a playoff game. But, if they could have played like this earlier in the season, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They would have had the division wrapped up already. 16 is the Packers. I feel like they should be higher. I feel like they should be over the Steelers. Even though, the Steelers and the Bucs did beat them. But Jordan Love has been playing really well as of late. And Packers might have their future franchise QB right here. Steelers are at 15. They've been playing better offensively. They went up a couple of spots. The Bucs went down 4. They're at 14. That was a bad loss to the Saints. But they still, listen, it's right in front of them. They just got to win and they're in. So then the Colts are at 13. They went up a couple of spots. Actually all the AFC South teams. So you got the Colts at 13, the Jags at 12, and then the Texans at 11. I don't disagree with that. I think right now, listen, I think the Texans might. I think the Texans will get into the playoffs. I think with Trevor Lawrence being back, the Jags win on Sunday. But if they don't, that's going to be really bad if they don't. I think the Colts, unfortunately, might be the odd team out. But they're going to be a good team next year. So we'll see. And then in the top 10. So we got the Rams at 10. I think they're playing like a top 10 team right now. Even though, the Giants kind of gave them some problems on Sunday. But, Kyren Williams, ever since he's come back, the Rams have been a different team. They've been scoring a lot more points. The receivers have been great. Stafford's been playing well, except on Sunday, threw a couple of picks. The defense, is not the same defense it was when they won the Super Bowl. So in the offseason, they're going to have to, fix the defense a little bit, rebuild that up. Because if they could do that, and Stafford can come back and play well with Cooper Kupp, with Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams again running the football, this is going to be a good team, going forward. Stafford's still got some good years left if they could protect him, So then you got the Eagles at 9. They dropped down 5 spots. I can't disagree with that. You just lost to the Cardinals. So I can't disagree with that. Their defense, that's a defense that has not been playing good. So then you got the Chiefs at 8, got back on track against the Bengals. Isaiah Pacheco's been running the football well. They weren't lollygagging. They didn't do any of these, trick plays, and they just had Harrison Butker kick field goals, pretty much the whole game after the first touchdown, and the first and only touchdown they had of the game. But, still, we have our concerns with this team. Then 7 is the Browns. This team is going to be very scary in the playoffs. If Joe Flacco can limit the turnovers, this is a good team. This team is going to give teams problems in the postseason. Then at 6, you got the Bills. It's crazy how they could either get the 2 seed or miss the playoffs entirely. But we'll see what happens. And then the top 5, you got the Lions at 5. They should have beat Dallas. Well, let's be honest. I still think Dallas is better than them, but they should have beaten Dallas. Then you got the Dolphins at 4. Yeah, I mean, you got to put them there. I feel like after that blowout loss, maybe you flip-flop the Lions and the Dolphins, but I don't know. Then you got Dallas at 3, 49ers 2, Ravens 1. I don't have any complaints there. I think the top 3 is right. Dallas at 3, 49ers at 2, Ravens at 1. I think the Cowboys are, even though the Dolphins did beat the Cowboys, I don't know. I still think the Cowboys are better. They're better than the Lions. But that's the top 5 though. So let me know what you guys think about the power rankings. We did have some comments here, so we'll go through that. The Falcons will crumble under their power. I don't know if that's what was trying to be said. Yeah, I mean they haven't been great recently. I see you can't get distracted with the chat during the podcast. Of course, makes sense. Yeah, I mean I was just going through the power rankings. I don't know about the NFL, but you seem like a very good informer. Nice job. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's I try to do what I can. I mean, listen, there's other people that are more knowledgeable than me. I know what I know, so that's basically the best way to put it. But it's also to obviously interact with the viewers, which is the one thing that I want to do more of, as we get more comments, in the chat, because I don't want it to just be me, talking for an hour with, nobody saying anything in the chat. I want to be able to respond to comments, listen to your guys' opinions on things, because that's really what this is all about, and we're working towards that. And obviously, again, like I've been talking about, there's going to be more, shows in the coming weeks. So you'll be more familiar with, with some new faces, and it's going to be a fun time. They'll be on my show. I'll be on other shows, as well. It's going to be an exciting weeks are coming up. So, but yeah. So, but that's pretty much it when talking about the power rankings. Again, let me know what you guys think about the power rankings for this week. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? The top 5 was the Lions, the Dolphins, Cowboys, 49ers, Ravens. And, yeah, I can't disagree with that. Can't really disagree with that. So with that, before we go into our next break, I just want to remind you guys once again, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we get back from our second break of the show, we're going to talk about Kyler Murray, because Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, came out and said that basically that they're going to stick with Kyler moving forward. So I'll talk about that. I'll give you my opinion on it. And that is what we'll do when we come back from our second break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.